3 years ago, my life took a turn I never anticipated. What started as nothing more than a brief exchange of glances eventually unfolded into a path filled with love, heartbreak, and an ending I never saw coming. My name is Dominic, and this is the story of how being dependable and loyal sometimes means you're the one left behind in the pursuit of someone's affection. It's a story rooted in love, built on hope, and ultimately shattered by betrayal, unraveled entirely through a single voice message that changed everything I thought was real. Let me take you back to where it all began, a wedding celebration that once felt magical but now seems like the opening chapter of a tragedy. The groom was more than just a friend, he was like a brother to me. We had a lifetime of memories stretching back to our childhood. The bride, glowing with joy and surrounded by her dearest friends, introduced me to a different world that night. One of those friends was Natasha, a bridesmaid whose presence lit up the room the moment she entered. Her laughter had a kind of charm that lingered, and her smile caught my attention again and again throughout the evening. We exchanged a few brief glances across the lively reception, eyes meeting just long enough to hint at something unspoken. Eventually, we shared some light conversation, comments about the ceremony, the playlist, the wild energy on the dance floor. It was nothing deep, just surface-level chatter. Still, it stayed with me. As the night came to an end, I found myself regretting one thing: I hadn't asked for her number. That quiet, lingering sense of missed opportunity wouldn't go away. Normally, I'm not the type to dwell on what-ifs. But Natasha stayed on my mind, like a spark refusing to die out. So, in a rare moment of nerve, I reached out to the groom a few days later. I asked if he could discreetly get Natasha's contact info through his wife. He chuckled at my persistence but understood. "If you don't try," he said, "you'll always be wondering." Not long after, I had her number. Our first few messages were careful, guarded, the kind of slow, uncertain rhythm that two strangers find when they're just beginning to connect. I told her the truth, that I found her captivating and wanted to see where this might go. To her credit, Natasha didn't beat around the bush. She was honest. She was already seeing someone. But things were rocky, unstable. She wasn't misleading. She didn't flirt without clarity or string me along. And I respected her openness. I chose to step back, not wanting to interfere in someone else's relationship. Yet, even as I pulled away, she kept reaching out, occasionally texting me, leaving playful comments, making remarks about things we had in common. The tone wasn't just friendly. There was something personal in the way she connected. Was I a fallback option? Was she genuinely unsure about her relationship or just enjoying the extra attention? I didn't have answers. But I didn't walk away either. I stayed close, intrigued, and quietly hopeful, maybe even a little naive. A couple of months later, I heard from someone we both knew that her relationship had ended. Natasha didn't confirm it right away, but soon her messages became more frequent, more focused. She'd ask about my weekend plans, drop hints about meeting up, slowly inching her way into my everyday life. I was still cautious. I didn't want to mistake friendliness for interest, but her consistency was hard to ignore. We started seeing each other more often, sometimes alone, sometimes in group settings with my friends. Everything about it felt effortless, like we were falling into place without trying. After about 6 months of this slow, unspoken build-up, we finally had the conversation I'd been hoping for. Natasha told me she was ready for a real relationship. I told her I felt the same. From that point on, we were official. She opened up about her past, about a relationship filled with instability, broken promises, and moments of affection that never lasted. She described herself as someone who loved with her whole heart, someone who gave everything when she was truly invested. I listened closely, maybe too eagerly, because I wanted to be different. I wanted to be the man who never let her down. I poured myself into the relationship. My time, my energy, my loyalty, it was all hers. My friends noticed how naturally we complemented each other. They'd say we balanced each other's strengths, that we looked like a perfect match. I believed them. From the outside, We seemed like a couple who had it all figured out, and I took pride in that. 2 years passed. By then, I had started thinking about forever. One thing I'd always loved was taking road trips with my closest friends. It had become a tradition that helped me open up and feel alive. When I brought up the idea of planning another one, Natasha lit up. She loved the thrill of an adventure, and the thought of joining my crew on a long road trip excited her instantly. As we started plotting out the journey, something inside me began to shift. I found myself imagining more than just a vacation. I was starting to envision a future. There was a moment during that road trip when everything I loved seemed to come together. The wide open road, my closest friends by my side, and the woman I thought I'd spend forever with. I had already bought the ring, carefully planned the perfect setting, and during that unforgettable trip, I asked her to be my wife. Her reaction was everything I'd hoped for: tears, an enthusiastic yes, and an embrace that made me feel like nothing in the world could touch us. In that moment, I truly believed I had found my forever. It felt like every decision, every twist in my life had led me straight to her. After we returned, we threw ourselves into the whirlwind of wedding planning. Natasha moved into my apartment shortly after, a step that felt natural, like we were catching a glimpse of the life we were about to build. In the beginning, it was thrilling. Waking up next to her, sharing morning routines, planning for our future, it all felt right. But soon, I started noticing something that didn't sit quite right. Her sister, Monica, was constantly around, either stopping by or talking to Natasha over the phone. Their conversations often carried a weight that didn't seem tied to floral arrangements or seating charts. One afternoon, I overheard Natasha quietly tell Monica, "Living with him feels different." She noticed I was nearby and quickly changed the topic. I didn't bring it up. I told myself it was just part of adjusting to living together, a shift from occasional dates to full-time cohabitation. We had a wedding date set for several months down the line, and everything on the surface seemed solid. No arguments. No red flags. One evening, Natasha even laughed and said, "I figured we'd be driving each other nuts by now, but this has been surprisingly easy." I took that as reassurance, as a sign that our relationship was strong enough to handle anything. But now, looking back, I realize her words carried a quiet truth I wasn't ready to hear. 2 weeks before the wedding, it all came crashing down. I was at work, wrapping up a simple task, when I saw a notification pop up, a voice message from Natasha. It was normal for us to send little updates, sweet notes during the day, so I played it without hesitation. But what I heard stopped me cold. There was no cheerful greeting, no inside joke, just her voice, raw and exposed, like she was speaking to someone she deeply trusted. My stomach dropped as she spoke. She didn't mention my name, but there was no mistaking who she meant. She confessed she wasn't sure about going through with the wedding. She admitted that while I was kind and dependable, something fundamental was missing. She said our calm relationship lacked the fire she longed for. That I was safe, but maybe too safe. That the absence of conflict made it feel empty. She laughed nervously and wondered aloud what it might be like to walk away from everything, to be free again. I sat frozen, listening to the message over and over, hoping I had misunderstood. But it was real. It was probably meant for Monica, her sounding board. I saved it, not to use against her, but to have something undeniable if she ever tried to lie. I couldn't focus after that. I closed my laptop, walked out to the parking lot, and sat in my car for hours, staring blankly at the dashboard, trying to process what I'd just heard. The woman I was days away from marrying saw me not as a partner she couldn't live without, but as the safe option she was settling for. And what hurt most wasn't just her uncertainty. It was the way she turned my loyalty, my consistency, into flaws. She wanted turmoil, passion, unpredictability. The very things I'd tried to protect her from. When I finally got home, she greeted me like nothing had happened. Smiling, kissing me on the cheek, casually asking if I'd seen her charger. I stood in the kitchen, clutching a glass of water, looking at her like she was someone I didn't recognize. How could she act so normal, knowing what she really felt. I told her I was tired and went to bed without another word. I lay awake all night, listening to her move around the house. By sunrise, I had made up my mind. I packed a small overnight bag and left a note on the counter, next to the coffee maker. It read, "You meant that message for Monica. But I heard it. I can't marry someone who doesn't love me with their whole heart. You have 3 days to move out and return the key. If not, I'll take further steps." I walked out without another word. Her calls started that afternoon. I ignored the first 2, but on the third, I answered. She was crying. She said it was a moment of doubt, that she was overwhelmed, venting, not thinking clearly. She swore the message didn't reflect how she truly felt. I let her speak. Then I replied, calm and steady, "People don't make detailed confessions by accident. If you want passion and chaos, go find it. Just not with me." Before she could respond, I ended the call. But she didn't stop. Natasha contacted my friends and family, painting a vague picture of miscommunication and stress. She never told them what she'd actually said. That only added to my frustration. When someone asked me directly, I simply sent them the voice message. Her words spoke for themselves. Her parents called, confused, emotional. They suggested it was just cold feet. I explained that this wasn't about last-minute nerves. It was about her admitting that I wasn't truly the one she wanted. 3 days later, she left. Her key was waiting under the door. I was heartbroken, but I also knew I just avoided a lifetime of being someone's second choice. That realization didn't erase the pain, but it helped me breathe again. A week later, she showed up uninvited. She stood at my door, fumbling for the right words, saying it had all been a mistake, that it was just a moment of weakness. I looked at her and asked, if I hadn't heard that message, would we be married right now, with you pretending everything was fine? She didn't answer. Her silence told me everything. She begged for another chance. She said we could postpone the wedding, take time to rebuild. But I had already made peace with the truth. "It's over," I told her. When she hesitated, still standing there, I shut the door and walked away, leaving her, and everything we could have been, behind. Now I ask you, what would you have done? Would you have stayed, hoping love could be salvaged? Or would you have walked away, protecting your heart from a lifetime of quiet disappointment? If this story struck a chord, feel free to share it.